sales consultant with Seminole Boosters and Florida State University Athletics, and then 2 years as an associate AD for tickets and corporate sales at Florida A&M University, which is right across the street from Florida State. So why the focus on small schools? Well, for the past 2 years, I've been involved with small schools. Florida A&M is a small HBCU in Tallahassee, Florida. Cal Poly Pomona is a small D2 school just east of LA, about 30 miles out. But the interesting thing about a small school is they still have tons of athletes. You've got a lot of needs. The budgets aren't necessarily what you need to make the pieces all fit. And your strategy has to be different. You're not going to be able to make the same kind of noise that University of Washington can make, for example, or UNLV or Alabama or Ohio State. Those guys kind of fill a huge vacuum in the room, and it's important for your fundraising success that you make some noise in a crowded space and not be afraid to go after some of those dollars that you normally would go after. Some of the biggest issues that I've identified being a fundraiser at a small school, a lot of times the staff size is just too small to get everything done that you need to do. So it requires creativity. As I mentioned, your story gets crowded out by bigger institutions and bigger properties in the area. Some institutions in as these bigger porch concept. Does everybody know what the front porch concept is? Okay. Front porch concept is basically that the athletic department is the window into the university as a whole. Okay. So when you think of a place like Alabama, what are you thinking? You're thinking of Alabama athletics. and then you find out, oh, they've got a world-class business school. They've got all this other stuff, but you see everything that goes into the school based on initially, a lot of the times, the athletic success of the program. Same thing at Florida State with their business school, and they've got a good law school there and everything else. But you find out about that through these other things. Florida A&M is very good with pharmacy. I've been you need to that is something that you've got to overcome, and you've got to really re-engage with not only your fans but your alumni as well in situations like that. Talking about development staff size, this is for just the athletic department at these big schools. FSU's got 13 development officers. Alabama has 10. University of Washington here in Seattle has 10. Washington State has 7. This is all on their website. For contrast, some of the smaller schools, Florida A&M had 1 major gift officer for the whole university. You know, they're out there really grinding and having to fit some of these things together. Cal Poly Pomona has 10 major gift officers for the entire university. So we've got student affairs. Basically, each college plus athletics has a major gift officer. Seattle University, same story, 9 major gift officers for the entire university. So you have to do more with less in a lot of ways, and it can create challenges, but it also creates opportunities, and we're going to go through some of those opportunities here shortly. So, as I mentioned, there are crowded spaces that you sometimes find yourself in. I mentioned Florida A&M is right across the street from Florida State. That's no lie. You go right across the railroad tracks in Tallahassee, and you're on the campus of Florida A&M. People used to ask me, even in town, there wasn't a lot of recognition for Florida A&M. They knew it's there, but they've never been or whatever. I called it a long par six from campus to campus. I mean, you could really make the walk in 20 minutes if you needed to. So when you're dealing with a behemoth like that, again, it sucks up all the attention and energy in the room, and sometimes you've got to get creative and make some things happen. LA and Southern California is completely different. If you look at the map there are over 80 schools in the Los Angeles area, and that runs from Burbank all the way out to San Bernardino. That's a lot of stuff. Doesn't even count the Rams, the Chargers, the Lakers, Clippers, Kings, everybody out there. So you've got a lot of properties out there, and you got to really pick and choose your battles where you're in there. So how do we do that? How do you break through? What do you do to combat something like that? It's hard, but there's ways to do it. First thing, tell compelling stories. Nothing you do is more important than telling the story of your why of what you're doing. Expanding your circle of influence. We'll talk about how you meet with key players on your campus and out in the community that can really kind of amplify the message that you're trying to send. And then finally, reinforcing your message with proper stewardship. And by proper stewardship, I mean maintaining those relationships with those people in your circle of influence and with those that are potential allies for you in the future. I love college athletics. I think it's a unique area that just about every student athlete has an interesting story or an impact statement that can resonate with donors and alumni. And usually in these three ways. Many are first-generation college students. Many come from less fortunate backgrounds. I've seen anything from being homeless to not knowing where their next meal is coming from, a lot of food insecurity, things like that. But they all want to succeed and view their athletic competition as their way to get there. And that is what motivates me as a fundraiser, is helping these kids get an education, usually a world-class education, depending on the institution, through their athletic competition. And in order to do that, you got to have the funds to. One of the biggest things and Florida State, the story in their own. You go to Doak Campbell Stadium, you see banners up, athletes, All-Americans, things like that, and it usually has a 1 or 2 sentence impact statement about, I wouldn't have been able to come to school without your support of our annual fund or your support of this specific scholarship that I received. They also do a really good job with video. Kids in the office going, thank you to all, John and Jane Smith for this endowed scholarship. I had books this semester because of you, thank you. And they put it on YouTube, and they put it in cards and emails that they send to their alumni and things like that. And that's something that you can scale the nice thing is about technology is you can scale it to fit your needs and stuff. But those stories are so compelling, and they make you want to be a part of that success. It really kind of warms your heart a little bit. The best way to kind of tell these stories, you can use these stories all coordinated strategy in your department and in your university. You're not going to make a lot of headway. So you've got any number of options to help you out, from your development office to your strategic communications group to your marketing and sports information department. If you coordinate the message and the timing of those messages and things like that, you can really amplify what you're trying to say. And that's important when you're in a crowded space like this. Hey, Cal Poly Pomona is doing this over here, and look at the success their teams are having. They average a 3.0 GPA across the entire department. They 60 kids graduate last year. Tell those stories, but when you're and calling up the various and going, okay, we're sending this out today. We'd like you to retweet it. We'd like you to send it out on your platform as well. It really helps and resonates. And even calling a sponsor or two and utilizing that, using that relationship to kind of push those stories out is a good way to amplify those things. And then reinforcement. You know, every bit of marketing is all about reinforcing your message. And repetition is the best way to do that, around that. So doing regular emails, you know, newsletters, monthly things, images on the, you know, stadium video board, you know, and getting people to commit to the outcome that you want, which is donate. So you send out a social media message about the game this weekend, and you want people to come, what do? You put a ticket link in there. Same thing for getting them to donate. Hey, right now we're doing our annual fund. Make sure you get yours in before this time. Here's the link to donate. You know, and make it prominent on your page. That way it makes it easy to commit and makes you want to, again, donate. Next thing you do, I talk about circle of influence. And circle of influence is people in the community that are outside your organization and inside your organization that can effectively tell your story to the people in their circle, the way they get it. So if it's business leaders in the community talking to the folks at the chamber, your local chamber of commerce, for example, and getting them on board, getting them as either as a sponsor or to endow a scholarship or just contributing to the fund, they get positive self-gratification out of that association, and they want to tell that story as well. So being able to amplify that message through your circle of influence is really, really key. You got to pull these people into your camp sometimes. Sometimes you're dealing with negative brand recognition or something like that. You're going to have that from time to time. But as you build the trust out in the community by doing what you say you're going to do and being a good source of information and a good source of community pride, those things start to go away and they understand that, hey, we want to be a part of that. Business and political leaders are very important. I like to invite, it seems random to a lot of folks, invite these kinds of people to campus events. You know, at Cal Poly Pomona, we have the pumpkin patch every year. We have any number of social activities. People to, you know, eat hamburgers and hot dogs at the soccer game, for example. You know, it's just a way for them to come and see what you've got going on, but also see the needs that are there, and then you can kind of engage with them on that. Talk to them about the vision that you've got. Here's what we're going to do in the short term, but here's what we'd like to do in the long term. I always relate things when I'm talking about our vision. I've got three things that I always hit on. I always hit on operational budgets, I always hit on scholarship budgets, and I also hit on facilities. Those are your main things that you're always trying to get going on a smaller campus, and they're the hardest things to go after. So it gives them, you know, a small menu of things to talk about and ask questions about. One of those typically will pique their interest, and you'll be able to talk to them in a little bit more detail. And then once you pull them in, yes? Yeah, the operational budget, the scholarship budget, and the facilities enhancements, or just plain maintenance. Yeah. Once you get them on board and everything, getting them to, again, it's committing to the outcomes that you want. So for these people, you've gotten them to commit to donate. Now you want them to commit to advocating on your behalf with those that they know. That's the key. That's a big missing link that a lot of people don't hit is, hey, you know, so-and-so, we're trying to get him on board. We want him to compare himself to you, or her to compare yourself to you. Can you set up a meeting with us so that we can kind of connect on those things, and using that network, and that way you maximize. And then the final point here is simple follow-up. Those kinds of things are you'd think they would come naturally, but sometimes the follow up just isn't there, and that goes to what we were talking about with stewardship. So, proper stewardship involves a couple of different things. It involves being transparent with what your needs are. People know that you're calling them to talk about maybe giving to the program. So being transparent about that fact, being transparent about what your needs are, is key to actually getting them to be part of that. People want to be associated with positivity. We talked about the stories that are involved with the athletes, the stories with the program success and things like that. People want to be associated with those positive stories. So if you can, be transparent with them to be a part of that and understand. The higher impact is there. You could have a place like USC or UCLA where you donate $1,000 and it's a drop in the bucket to them, or they could come over here where at Cal Poly Pomona, I believe our total budget's in the $6 to $7 million range. $1,000 really helps out, and it makes a big difference in a lot of ways. So you gotta, if you're transparent, vocal, and understand your donors want, you're going to make noise out in the community. You utilize those resources that you have on campus. We talk about your communication department, your internal marketing department, and then talking to other people in the community. You're able, even, but you can make those things happen. That's all I've got. These are my contact information. So if you'd like to reach out to me, ask any questions after this session, I'm happy to do that, and happy to take any questions you guys have.
I came in late, but do you find that it's harder to this one? You know what I mean? Is it easier to funds?
Operational funds are probably the easiest thing to raise money for, honestly. We have X amount of dollars that we need every year. It's real easy math. If you donate $25 and 100 people donate $25, we're going to get there. Those kinds of things. Facilities are a little bit more sticky. Building is a little bit more sticky because you've got more, not only more constituents that you're going to have to go after, but it's bigger dollars. And the process to get those funds takes a little bit longer. The cultivation takes a little bit longer. And then you've got internal institutional issues that you've got to deal with. You've got more constituents internally that you got to talk to, your facilities department, your planning department. You often have to pull in the president, and even sometimes at the bigger school, a board of trustees. So building is tougher than just maintenance and operation, for sure, at least in my experience. Mm-hmm.
You're in a very cluttered market.
Yes.
If I donate money for a D2 facility, it's not technically as sexy as if I donated money for a D1 facility. How do you, how are you able to, I guess, meet the donor's intrinsic need of I need to feel like I'm important when the project might not be as glitzy and glamorous as, say, if they take their money to a school down the road that plays D1 is on TV more often.
Right. Again, it goes back to impact. A lot for me as a fundraiser, I try and tell the story. You can go donate at USC or UCLA or even Cal Baptist or some place like that has a lot of money going on. They're doing a lot of building and everything else. But if you come and donate at Cal Poly Pomona and you make a big gift towards, say, our baseball facility, which we're in the process working on right now. You talk about having it all goes back to impact. You are the guy. You're not one of 100 guys that just donated this thing because the budget is smaller. So your impact per dollar goes further. And that's typically what I do is I just talk to them about the overall impact. And for example, our soccer facility needs some work right now. And we're looking, 5-year plan, 10-year plan to kind of improve that. How do we get there? We're trying to strategize how we get there. And, talking to people, they want to see the basics met and then talk about, hey, now that the basics are here, let's build this thing. And once you meeting those basics, they understand the impact and the edge that you're going to give the kids that wouldn't normally have it. So. Anything else? Cool. Well, that's all I have. So if you think of any follow-up questions or anything like that, I'm happy to answer them after the fact, and I'm usually pretty good to respond to email or answer the phone. So glad to be here. Thanks for sitting here listening to me and answering some thoughtful questions and stuff. So have a good rest of the conference. Yeah. No, it's not. This is not my computer.